So this is an article from the Gray Zone that was written by video editor extraordinaire Matt Orfalia. So check this out. K-Hive. Kamala's K-Hive trolls boosted by bots while media defends harassment campaigns. While the media defends K-Hive's disturbing attacks on critics of Kamala Harris, new findings reveal a Democratic Party-linked bot farm amplified its leaders. On April 8th, the LA Times profile of K-Hive attempted to put a positive spin on Kamala Harris superfans. So let's go to this real quick, because there was something here. He got this from the Wayback Machine. Now, this was an article from the LA Times. He probably just got it from the Wayback Machine, because otherwise LA Times tries to put a lot of their stuff over a paywall. And I love this part of the article. So this article is celebrating K-Hive for the most part. We don't need to go through the whole thing. But there was one sentence in particular. Check this part out. But they are not generally advocating for a set of policy briefs. They tend to promote pragmatic liberalism, taking cues from President Biden and Harris about how far Democrats can push legislation and executive action while constrained by a closely divided Congress. Their biggest unifying cause is their belief that they need to push back against Harris's critics. That is a very, very flowery diplomatic way of saying they don't really stand for any policies. They just stand, S-T-A-N, for Kamala Harris. That's it. I mean, that's what they're saying here. They're like, no, they're not really all about policy. They're not. It's not policy that they're all about. They're just about pragmatism, whatever that means. And they're about defending Kamala Harris, no matter what. They just like Kamala Harris, which guess what? You know, if you're going to like a politician, well, okay, go ahead and like a politician. That's your choice. But if you're going to stand STAN for a politician and your entire identity is based around standing for a politician, you know how often you're wrong? 100% of the time. No matter who the politician is, you are wrong 100% of the time. 100% of the time, you're totally wrong. You should not stand for any politicians because they are politicians first. They are politicians first. And also, they're human beings. They're not some infallible, godlike beings who walk on water. They're politicians. At best, they have decent intentions. At best. And that's if you're lucky. Most of the time, they're just in it for themselves. Because our political system is something that is a system that rewards narcissism. It's a system that puts these people on a pedestal. It's a system that's not based upon public service at all. At all. And like I've said before, over the past 5 years, I have had more peaks under the political machine hood than I've ever wanted in a lifetime. And in my experience, it was worse than I ever could have imagined it. It is the most petty, morally bankrupt, ethically disgusting structure I have ever seen. And this is coming from a guy in show business. On its worst day, show business is better than politics. On its worst day. Show business. And K-Hive. So let's get back to Matt's article, because there's a lot going on in this thing that is very interesting. Okay, so that's the LA Times portion. It turns out that Harris's modern political army was manufactured with the aid of an even larger army of fake Twitter accounts. After the term K-Hive was formally branded by folks like Joy Reid, K-Hive leaders received a boost from a Democratic Party operative-controlled bot farm. So here's the bot farm they're referring to. This links to an article from Huffington Post from 2018, how a Twitter fight over Bernie Sanders revealed a network of fake accounts. One Democratic Party consultant said an unnamed client controlled many of these accounts. When Russians at the Internet Research Agency interfered in U.S. politics, this is from the article, they created false online personas. So it's happening here. Trevor, a Sanders supporter, Goes by liking online on Twitter, noticed a strange pattern of behavior when Albright responded to him. Her tweets addressing him were rapidly retweeted by a series of accounts. So, and by the way, this is nothing new. We knew this for a couple years. We knew this, especially when everybody was wetting themselves over, over a troll farm in Russia who made some memes in broken English, some of which were published after the 2016 election. When everybody was wetting themselves over that, what went under the radar? Well, the fact that Hillary Clinton had a literal troll farm. She had, correct the record, a literal troll farm. And I'm sure many of you remember having experience with that troll farm. I know I likely have. I remember at times when I used to, I used to be a guest on more centrist-oriented shows, and I would often, criticize Hillary Clinton on these shows. That's why I'm not, a guest on a lot of them anymore. I don't get asked back, whatever. But a lot of times I would get some feedback from supposed users, and this would happen on Facebook. Sometimes it would happen on Twitter, where I would see a comment from them, and it was in, I remember one time in particular on this Facebook post, this person, quote unquote, they had all these comments about me where they were like, Ron Placone should shut up. He is, and it was in broken English. Like, it basically looked like an algorithm arranged these sentences with a bunch of buzzwords where Hillary Clinton, sexist, Bernie bro, this, that, but it wasn't arranged in an actual cohesive thought. It was just these fragmented sentences. Like, and little articles wouldn't be in there. Like, they'd be like, Ron Placone is Bernie bro. Ron, shut up, should. Like, the sentence was composed like that, where you're looking at it, and I would look at it, and I would think, I don't know if this person's a real. And I would click their profile, and sure enough, their Facebook profile would have nothing on it at all. And it was made recently. You can see, like, member since. It was made within the past month a lot of the time. There's no information on their wall, nothing. And their profile picture is like a stock picture of a skyline or something like that. That was likely a correct the record troll farm member. That's likely what that was. So this is nothing new. What happened was they just moved over to KHive, to the quote unquote KHive. All right. So according to Vox, getting back to the article here, let me pull it back up for you guys. According to Vox, KHive credited De La Rosa with organizing KHive in a Facebook group that started in 2017. Bustle confirmed that many KHive accounts point to De La Rosa as the creator of KHives. Beyond its omission of this obviously salient fact, the Times failed to inform readers that Colbert, this is not Stephen Colbert, by the way, Rishi Colbert is who they're referring to, who's one of the more prominent members of the KHive. What they never mentioned was that Colbert, or Colbert, or however you say it, that Colbert and the Twitter account Black Woman Views were the same person. So these people have multiple accounts. The LA Times let KHive describe themselves as truth tellers when in fact they are notorious for spreading noxious lies about their political opponents. For instance, KHive spread a baseless lie that journalist Walker Bragman was literally caught running fake Black Twitter accounts. In reality, it was KHive members, according to the article, who were connected to a network of fake Twitter accounts. So here's again, this links to the article where they linked a bunch of KHive accounts to fake Twitter accounts. So going back here, in 2018, a forensically detailed investigation discovered a network of Twitter bots run by Democratic Party communications consultant Sally Albright. De La Rosa and her fellow KHive Readlinger, Wonder King, formerly known as Mr. Dane 1982, Mr. Weeks 1982, were among the Twitter accounts most promoted by the bots network. The bots most commonly retweeted negative or positive word was racist, artificially boosting tweets accusing Bernie Sanders supporters of racism. And now, so they actually have an admission here. Here is a Twitter account, Black Professor, part of the KHive, Here's something they actually tweeted. Damn right, I'm riding with my friend, real K-Hive Queen Bee. We were the original tag team duo taking on Bernie Sanders minions in 2015. We rode with Hillary Clinton until multiple of our accounts were suspended. Multiple. They admit they have multiple accounts. I'm not riding with people who fail to credit the Queen for her creation. So they admit that they have multiple accounts. One of the LA Times K-Hive sources, Kenny Walden, tweets under Too Raw, Too Real, notorious for calling for the death of Bernie Sanders. Walden has been banned on Twitter at least 3 times before under various aliases for reasons such as managing multiple Twitter accounts for abusive purposes. So it's literally happening again. And are there some people on Twitter who just like Kamala Harris? Well, of course. And, we disagree on a lot, and that's fine. They're allowed on Twitter. But this is literally a troll farm. This is literally a troll farm. The same thing Hillary Clinton had. And I'm sure that a lot of us, especially people watching this show, have had an experience with it. I have had members of K-Hive send me emails before, and they're usually full of insults and expletives and threatening me and stuff like that, calling me all kinds of names, which that's, hey, it could just be some person on the internet, whatever. And then I've been trolled on Instagram before by K-Hive fans, supposedly. And again, same story. I'd go to their profile. They'd leave a comment on Instagram. I'd go to their profile. They have this random blurry picture of themselves, and their account was made about a month ago. And they've posted nothing. They have posted absolutely nothing. So, and gee, I wonder when they really kicked in Kamala Harris's troll farm. Could it be when she announced her candidacy for president and she got ratioed? Do y'all remember that? Do you remember when Kamala Harris, it's Monday, folks. I got a case of the Mondays. I can't talk today. But do you remember when she announced her candidacy for the first time in 2020? Or I guess it might have been as far back as 2019. But for the 2020 election is what I mean. And she got ratioed. People were like, no thanks. Because keep in mind, she was the anointed one. She was the one the establishment wanted to shove down our throats. And they tried, and people said, no, thank you. Because people in her own state know what she's really all about. And people in California said, no, she didn't even show up in the running in her own home state. They tried to shove Kamala down our throats. We said no. So they tried Warren. We said no. So they tried Buttigieg. The people said no. So they tried Warren again. The people said no. So they said, well, you know what? Screw you. You're getting Biden. We're going to shove Biden down your throats. Deal with it. And that's what they did. And then Joe Biden went on to fall into the presidency. Donald Trump beat himself, and Joe Biden became president, which is a true testament to what our politics really are. The 2020 election, you can look at it as a snapshot with what American politics really is. Democrats would rather lose to Donald Trump and the Republicans again than win with the progressives. That's why they threw up the most beatable person, Joe Biden, a guy who probably can't tell you what he had for breakfast this morning, a guy who made every misstep on the campaign trail, but the Democratic establishment rallied when they needed to, and they were able to overcome Bernie's movement through a game where they set the rules for it, through shady apps, through having 20 against 1, having all these candidates meant to stifle Bernie. That's just what happened. And let's go over to the other side of the two-headed duopoly. The Republicans hate you so much, they had no problem losing the White House if it meant they didn't have to help you. Because guess what? If there would have been an emergency UBI throughout the pandemic, Donald Trump would still be president. He just would be. But that administration didn't do that. And they mishandled the pandemic every way imaginable. Completely mishandled it. The Trump administration was a circus during the pandemic. So Joe Biden didn't win, quote unquote, as much as Donald Trump beat himself. Donald Trump beat Donald Trump in 2020. And the Republicans knew it was probably going to happen. I mean, I was saying stuff like that on this show. I was just like, look, the only way Biden wins, quote unquote, is if Donald Trump beats himself. That's the only way. And as time went on, I mean, at first, I didn't think there was any way in hell that could happen. And if it wasn't for the pandemic, there's no way it would have. I mean, I firmly, if it wasn't for the pandemic, Donald Trump would still be president. He would have mopped the floor with Joe Biden. But the pandemic made things very unprecedented. Most of the time, you can't beat something with nothing. You can't beat something terrible with nothing at all. Because people will just take the chance on something terrible. That's how it's been in American politics for a while now. John Kerry couldn't beat Bush. Why? Because John Kerry really didn't offer anything. So people just stuck with Bush despite how terrible he was. And Bush slithered his way into the presidency despite not winning for real the first time. But the pandemic changed all that. But Republicans, they saw that coming and they were like, we'd rather just lose. Isn't that incredible to you? They'd rather lose the White House than give you an emergency UBI during a pandemic. That thing that a bunch of other countries just did, no questions asked. They were fine with losing the White House because they hate you that much. And they're in bed with Wall Street that much. And the Democrats, same thing. They're fine. They were fine with losing to Trump again. Despite the circus that was the Trump administration during this pandemic, Democrats didn't care. What was more important to them was knocking out any chances of having someone progressive in the White House. That was their main priority. They even admit, I mean, you could find MSNBC footage. They literally say that. They say that beating Bernie is more important than beating Trump. And that's what the Democratic Party is. Let's make our donors happy by keeping progressives out of power. If we can beat a Republican in the meantime, great. If not, the gravy train keeps rolling. And the Republicans, yeah, we want the gravy train to keep rolling too. And we'll gladly lose an election if to win an election, we actually have to help people. If it comes down to actually governing or losing, we'll lose. Democrats, if it comes down to having a progressive or losing, we'll gladly lose. And that's the duopoly, folks. And that's why they need each other. They need each other. Democrats are only able to be as ineffective as they are because of how gruesome Republicans are, and Republicans are only able to be how gruesome they are because of how ineffective Democrats are. That's bipartisanship, baby. That shit you're supposed to celebrate, that's really what it is. And so, great, good thing we have these troll farms, too, to uphold this status quo. It's a great status quo. It's working out great. Good thing we have troll farms to help out.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your